Okay, so that video was all the way back in February, as you saw in the last clip. It is now June the 4th at about 25 past midnight. I know there's another video I put on which has been filmed at the same time where I basically put off actually doing any mods. It was even earlier than this, but I'm just like, nah, get it done. So these are the two PowerBooks together. Let's just go over a few of the differences there. So the one on the left is the original PowerBook, and the one on the right is the new one that I got. Pretty much the same looking, except what you might notice is things are a bit bigger on the left than they are on the right. Now, I could have adjusted the dock size, but in this I haven't. The dock is exactly the same size as it always was. The one on the right is the newer one with the higher resolution, 1440 by 960, and that one's 1280 by 854, whatever it was. So what we're going to do here is, I just wanted to show this sort of difference in resolution. They look pretty much the same. Its hard drive is going to be removed and replaced with that one, which is more or less a clean install, except it's got like 10.4 Fox on it. We're going to have a look at the keyboard on this one. I'm going to clean it up, because it looks like a pretty good keyboard, except the trackpad's a little polished. And there was a keyboard I did buy originally for this one, that I think I'm pretty sure it's actually in better condition, but probably not by much. That's going to get the new keyboard and the SSD. Not really a lot to do, to be honest. And then that one's going to get the keyboard from this one, but probably tomorrow. It doesn't really matter. I mean, this one's the important thing. This can be done anytime. And then we're going to install Leopard on there. These are the only parts going in. The RAM upgrade has already been done on the one on the right, and the one on the left already had 2 gig anyway. So all that's going in is an SSD, and then we're going to put Leopard on it. And the hard drive that's coming out of the old one, it's got a whole bunch of apps on it. So what I'm planning to do is, when this one's all nicely installed, I'll put it in an enclosure and then migrate across all the apps. And then that should work. Good times. Right, let's get these two turned off, and let's get this one apart. Just having a quick look over the keyboard. From here, I've cleaned this one up. But then when I look across at this one, the only difference that I can see is that this trackpad is polished, and this trackpad is still matte, so this would still appear to be in better condition. I don't even know if it's worth swapping this, but I have to open it anyway to get in, so I might as well see what the condition's like underneath. Yeah, literally, I'm looking at all the main keys, like the G, this one. I mean, literally all this stuff is kind of the same, so I don't know, I think we just better get inside of it. And of course, the ever useful iFixit will be helping here. This is instructions to replace the logic board, but I'm going to be joining in at some point below, because we're not going to be doing that. All we're going to be doing is releasing the keyboard. So yeah, so all it is these screws along the side, the back along the other side, and then 2 inside, which is going to be really, really easy to do. So let's get on with it. And yes, I took the battery out. Well, I tried to be clever again, but eventually I got the screws off. There is something. There we are. Wasn't anything holding it on. Right, okay. Oh, shit. Hang on. Well, I got into it. The keyboards are slightly different underneath, and I'll just demonstrate that a bit later on. There's the card slot, and there's the hard drive. Should be reasonably simple to pull that out. Got it out. So you take 3 screws, well 4, and then you pull it out sideways. So the best thing to do is take this caddy off. Well, there it is. All the tape and everything's on. Not sure if this flappy plastic's needed, but I'll try and put this in. We'll then put this back together and boot it up. There, it's pretty much back the way it was. Kind of. Alright, so it's all back together. The keyboard feels... Oh, hang on. Some mild separation there, but then again we did on the other one. Now it's time to turn it on. I'm not expecting much, of course. Turn the light off, because there's no operating system. It should detect that fact, and there should be a folder with a question mark. There it is, there's a folder and the question mark. Time to install. Oh, took that. Oh, hang on, it's loading. The drive's making some awful noises, but it is allowing me to select English, and if you look there, keyboard works. Fantastic, I'll get this going. And the trackpad works, which is good to know. Okay. More information. I think this is where we go here. Ah, disk utility. This should be good. There we are. Ah, it's found the SSD. Excellent. So this is left over from Windows. So it's got system reserved, which is a Windows thing, SSD. We're just going to select the top level and erase that one. Select that away from there. Journaled. And let's call it Macintosh SSD. And let's erase it. Hopefully it corrects it from master boot record as well, because that needs to be done. Oh no, wait, it has Apple partition map. Nah, I didn't do it. One sec. Right, that all reads correctly now. Alright, so I presume you just go continue, agree, that should be fine. Don't need to erase and reinstall. Right, it's 11 gig. Ah, customize. This is where we get to turn off all the shite we don't need. Don't need that, don't need that. Don't need that. No. Probably don't need that. Alright then. Install. Ooh, this is thrilling. Checking installation DVD? I should think so. I don't think we need to do that, it's genuine. Just do it. Wait, time remaining calculating. Can we have an actual number, please? I've got to go for a bath. Aww. I think we'll just leave this one because, I mean, it's moving along. It's probably moving along quicker than it usually would anyway. Speak later. And while I came out of the bath, it's all ready. So let's set this up. Continue. British, that'll do. Do not transfer any information now. Continue. Right, so I might as well just set this up. Nothing really much to say on this, and I will greet you at the desktop. Okay, we're on the desktop, and we are on 10.5.6. So there's not much I have to do to get this up to 10.5.8. And then we can be on our way, and then configure this and do a little bit more. Back in a tick. Excellent, I've got everything pretty much mostly configured. System preferences have been gone through, so is Finder, it's all lovely. Now I'm just basically installing as much as I can for all these items. So that'll take a little while. I'll be right back. Okay, well that's everything configured. And now it's doing its first Time Machine backup, which I'm so glad I can do. Being that it's Leopard, it has that ability. I think we're done. I might do something tomorrow morning. Well, early afternoon, to see what I can do about this. Now, the migration assistant, I've had a thought about that. The original plan was to swap the drives over, take this one, put it in the other Mac, and whatever. But I figured, no, I'm not going to do that. I might install Leopard for the next people who come along. Could leave Tiger, though. But before that, I'm just going to do a migration assistant by putting the other one into target disk mode. Again, I forgot I could do that. So it's going to be much easier. All I do is I change the keyboard on the other not Mac, PowerBook, and it's all ready for sale. Other keyboard can get sold for spare bits and pieces. Good times. Anyway, till the morning. And it's the next day. So today we are going to do a few things with this. I did have a look at this, I think it was a bit earlier on. It has done Time Machine backups, so it's all awesome. That's good. What I'm going to try and do as well, this 80 gig drive, I could use it for something, don't know what, but I have an enclosure just back here, which I did put a 60 gig drive in. That is actually a mistake. I'll get onto that in another video. And I had really nothing to do. I bought it and I was like, oh, well, I don't actually need it at all. But I had a 60 gig IDE drive that I could just shove in it because it's a Firewire IDE enclosure. But I'm thinking about a little upgrade with this dealie. Keeps it protected, and it is an original Apple hard drive, so if I ever do want to sell it, it means I can take it out of there and sell it again, because I know how people like the Apple branded stuff, even though it really makes no difference whatsoever. But it is bigger than that one, so that's probably what we're going to do. And I've got Xbench up here. Oh, actually, I meant to say, I did run this on the internal drive, and the SSD does quite well. I mean, it's interesting, it actually gets faster writes. It's got like 83 megabytes a second write. I'll probably just run that in a little bit as well, just to show you. And about 72 on the read. But the random is exactly the same with the sequential. They're both jammed up, probably to what this can do to the maximum. But for the moment, let's run a speed test on the 60 gig drive that's in there. Alright, so that task is done. Apple drive is in there. The old Fujitsu drive is there. Let's do a speed test. Alright, we've got the performance figures here. Not much difference in the hard drive. Actually, wait a minute, I'll just get a bit closer. So there's the 2 bits of information. Then then you compare it to this one, where it's a lot higher. So if we compare these two, yeah, you can see the SSD is pretty much maxing that out. So it's doing pretty good for itself. A couple more things to do. I think we actually need to get the old hard drive migrated with all of its apps over, and then we can sell it on eBay. I always get fascinated by how these things can connect. There's one enclosure going to that one, which is 160 gig, and then there's another cable going from there into this other one, which is 80 gig. Not so bad. And that all tops out to that when I'm comparing the get info sections of this. So if I made this into one of those concatenated disks, that's how big we'd have it. Anyway, enough horsing around, let's get this thing migrated. Okay, so the Macs are all both on power. The old one is in target disk mode and connected via a Firewire 800 cable. So looking down this list, you've got the usual stuff. But you've got lots of other things. Clean My Mac is not coming over. I think we'll just delete that straight away. Goodbye. But there's tons of stuff. I mean, not all of this I'll be keeping, but it's got iMovie, it's got iWork, an old version of Mac Tracker, Real Player. There's a few things here, as well as there was some Adobe software, I remember. Microsoft Office, which is going to be fantastic. But what's interesting here is there's a Pantone app. So I could just drag and drop all of this stuff, but I think what I might actually do is run a migration assistant as I originally thought, only taking over applications. And there we go, everything's migrated over, at least everything I want. There's still stuff that I'm not really sure what it does, but there's database management, I'd kept some of it on there. Stuff like Spotify I removed because I don't use it. Clean My Mac, of course, came off straight away. There's lots of interesting things. I mean, I've got iPhoto now. I've been trying to find any possible updates to that one. And a few other things. I remember VLC I put on the other previous Mac. It's the last ever version that would work on PowerPC. Do you want to update automatically? No. Nah, it's not going to work anyway. So that's pretty much it. This Mac project is kind of done and dusted. The only thing now is to replace the keyboard on the other one and then prepare it for sale, really. It's a bit later on, and I'm just stripping down the other one. So this has already had Leopard installed on it, and this is ready to go pretty much. But I just pulled off the keyboard to replace it, and it's interesting. The drive that was inside the other one was a Toshiba. This one is Fujitsu. Interesting. Also, what is interesting is this has clearly been mistreated. There's a chunk of plastic that came off, and there are gouge marks here. Like you see this part of the casing bowing outwards when the other thing is on. You can probably see it there, there's a little curve. So someone has tried to get into this at some point, and they have not taken the proper care to get into this properly. Also some other things. In the back it's missing a screw. In the battery compartment there's like a ledge under here. One of these screws is missing, and no, that's not me. I simply had just gotten there and found it wasn't there. But anyway, we'll put the other keyboard on. It'll make this a little bit more sellable at least.